Hey everyone, welcome to Daily Revelations. So what am I talking about? Letting go of the good. There are things that we hold on to in our lives that we think, this is something I'm doing, it's good. Or this is something that I can put good into, and it's something that God is saying, let go. Let go of this because there's something different that I have for you. You've done whatever you need to do, whatever you can do, whatever I've called you to do. And now keep going. Let it go. Because if you don't, it's going to be shaken out anyways. I'll kind of go through this. So I was in Acts 19 and 20. I'm going to pull in a little bit of Hebrews to bring some closure to this. But what we see through Acts 19 and 20 is Paul is finishing up his missionary journeys. He gets a great conviction from the Holy Spirit that he can't shake. That is repeating to him, you have to go to Jerusalem. And not only do you have to go to Jerusalem, you have to give up your missionary journeys. This is the last one. And guess what? Something good is not waiting for you there. My will is waiting for you there, which is better. But it means that you're going to be persecuted. You are going to suffer for my name. And Paul willingly does this. And he purposefully lets go of all these places. When the Holy Spirit starts moving him, he goes back through these places that he had been, and he says his goodbyes. He gives his final words of wisdom. He tells people, live the way I lived. Be on guard. Be alert. He goes through this whole list, and he's telling all these people, this is the last time you're going to see me. Now, we know that they get letters from him while he's in prison, because we know the rest of the story and the rest of the New Testament is all these letters that Paul then wrote to these churches while he was imprisoned. And we wouldn't have had those had he not gone and followed God, because we really didn't know. We didn't, the Acts of the Apostles, when Paul was doing his journeys, they don't record a lot of what Paul was teaching, but we get it from Paul's letters, and that was a blessing to us. It was God's bigger plan than just the good that was happening then. And we can't see how our obedience to God fits into the whole big picture. And sometimes we go, why? Why would God pull me away from ministering here or doing this good? Well, because he's the one feeding that, not me. If he asked me to step away and do something different, it's because he's got that covered. I was talking to a friend of ours. We have some missionaries that we support, and they called and said, God's doing something different, and he's calling us out of this and into a ministry we don't even know what it looks like yet. That kind of sounds like Paul, doesn't it? And I said, well, good. That means that God is showing you more of himself and more about his specific call on your life to reach out in his name. And there's so many other instances that God says, put down the good because I have something better. And I can take what you've done here in your obedience and make that fruitful. And sometimes there's situations like with my oldest, had a major incident last night. I have had to let go of him and my trying to do good in his life so that God can do something better. And God's working in painful ways, but he's working. And I keep praying that God will bring things back around to show him just where he's working in his life. But I also know it's not my place. And so these things are happening in Acts 19 and 20. But I want to bring you to Hebrews as we finish up. And this is what Hebrews 20 or 12:28 says. Since we receive a kingdom which cannot be shaken, let us show gratitude, that we may offer to God an acceptable service, with reverence and awe, for our God is a consuming fire. God's kingdom can't be shaken. Now, anything that is not his will that we do will be shaken out. Come the end of time, it's gone. What do I want to say this was my service? This was my act of gratitude to God. The things that I thought were important, or the things that he told me were important, that will not be shaken, because those are the things that will stand at the end. And will I show through my life that I am grateful for all that God has done for me by living in awe and reverence for what he has called me to do, my acceptable service. Your acceptable service is different. All of ours is. We can't follow a plan and some neat method for following God. We have to have a relationship with him. We have to listen to him. And just like Paul, who the Holy Spirit was leading and guiding to places that seemed absolutely ridiculous, we know that that was God's better plan. The good had to be left behind. God was taking care of that. He was building those churches. Paul had done his work. He needed to step away and move to where God was calling him. Maybe you're at that place where God is saying, put it down, walk away. I've got this covered, but you have to trust me. And you have to go on to something else. It doesn't mean we stop praying. It doesn't mean that our hearts aren't attached to those things anymore. Of course they are, but our hands need to let go. And we need to stop meddling, because we then get in the way of God's work instead of helping it. So wherever you are today, I just want to encourage you to trust in God's better and to let go of the good. It's just good. And he is a consuming fire. And that fire at judgment time will burn up anything that was not intended in his will. So today, let's just focus on doing what he calls us to do and rest in that as his perfect plan. Thanks for joining me on Daily Revelations, everyone. I will see you again next time. Bye.